Wisdom is not something we gather like stones in a bag, adding weight year after year. It is not an accumulation of quotes, facts, or clever sayings. Rather, it is revealed in the spaces between all that we think we know. In the beginning, we fill our minds with teachings, with advice, with the voices of others. But slowly, through the friction of experience, we begin to realize that the deepest lessons are not additions, they are clarifications. There is a great difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is information stored. Wisdom is information lived. One who has read many books may know about stillness, yet still be restless. One who has suffered in silence, who has walked through sorrow without turning bitter, may know stillness without ever speaking its name. Wisdom, then, is not placed upon us. It is uncovered within us. As we age, we do not necessarily become wiser. We become wiser only if we begin to question what we've carried. The beliefs passed down to us, the opinions we adopted to belong, the identities we clung to for safety, these must be peeled away. Like cleaning a mirror that has gathered dust for decades, the act of uncovering wisdom is one of removal, not addition. Children often ask questions adults have stopped asking. Why is the sky blue? Why do people lie? Why are we here? The adult, thinking themselves wise, may offer an answer. But true wisdom begins when one sits with the question, not when one rushes to reply. To uncover wisdom is to develop the courage to not know and to be still in that unknowing. In our culture of constant seeking, we are taught that more is better. More knowledge, more books, more teachings, but the wise ones do not speak often, and when they do, their words are few. They do not overflow with answers. They point you back to yourself. The more we let go of what we think we know, the more space there is for something timeless to rise from within. Every mistake, every heartbreak, every silence between friends is an opportunity to uncover something deeper. If we approach these moments with the intent to add something to our identity, we miss the point. But if we listen, not with the mind but with the soul, we begin to understand that wisdom was not hiding in the event. It was hiding in our resistance to it. The mountain does not grow taller by reaching. It becomes powerful by remaining still. In the same way, we do not become wise by striving. We become wise when we become still enough to see what was always true. This is why so many teachings emphasize emptiness, not as a lack, but as a readiness. When the noise is cleared, when the clutter is gone, the truth is revealed. So the path is not upward, but inward. Not forward, but deeper. The answers we seek have less to do with what we can grasp, and more to do with what we are willing to release. Wisdom, then, is not collected. It is uncovered. It is what remains when all else falls away. Growth is not loud. It does not announce itself with celebration or applause. It moves quietly, often beneath the surface, where no one can see. Like roots spreading deep into the soil, strengthening the foundation before the tree begins to rise, true growth takes place in silence, hidden from the eyes of the world. You may not even notice it happening within yourself. One day, you simply do not react the way you once did. The words that once triggered anger now pass through you like wind. The habits that once felt impossible to change are no longer part of your rhythm. You do not declare that you have grown. You realize it in hindsight, in moments where your old self would have struggled, and your present self simply breathes. In a world addicted to speed and spectacle, the quiet nature of growth is often mistaken for stagnation. But nothing could be further from the truth. Silence is not a lack of movement. It is the space where real transformation begins. What is forced grows shallow roots. What is nurtured in stillness becomes unshakable. It is easy to mistake visibility for progress. Loud voices, public declarations, constant updates. These may give the appearance of growth, but often they are distractions from the inner work that must be done alone. The real shift happens when no one is watching, when the world is asleep and you choose to remain awake to your own patterns. Growth requires patience. It cannot be rushed by ambition nor demanded by ego. Just as the body needs time to heal after injury, the mind and heart need time to rewire after years of conditioning. There is no shortcut to deep transformation, only consistent attention, gentle discipline, and the willingness to face discomfort without running. You may feel as though nothing is changing, and yet everything is. The seed does not sprout the moment it is planted. There is a dark, silent period where life is beginning below the surface. The same is true for you. What you cultivate in solitude will reveal itself in the seasons to come, not when you expect it, but when it is ready. It is in the quiet commitment to daily practice that growth begins to take form. The early morning breathwork, the mindful walk, the choice to listen rather than react. These are not loud acts, but over time they build a strength that no storm can shake. They create a life that is not dependent on chaos to feel alive. When growth is real, it doesn't need validation. It does not seek recognition because it is not driven by approval. It is steady, grounded, and whole within itself. Like the mountain that holds its shape, whether praised or ignored. True growth finds power in silence. Pain is a teacher, not a punishment. It arrives not to break you, but to reveal you. Often, when pain visits, we interpret it as a sign that something is wrong, that life is being unfair. But pain does not arise without purpose. It has no interest in cruelty. It carries the voice of truth, stripped of comfort, inviting you to listen more deeply to your life. When the body aches, it does so to protect you, to call your attention to imbalance or misuse. The same is true for the heart. Emotional pain surfaces when we are out of alignment with our values, our truth, or our boundaries. It calls us to pause, to observe, to change something fundamental. It may be uncomfortable, but it is not your enemy. It is a messenger. Avoiding pain does not free you from it. It only delays the lesson. What we resist, we extend. What we suppress, we carry longer. Pain demands presence. It wants you to sit with it, not run from it. In the silent company of pain, you begin to see what truly matters. The distraction fades, and what remains is raw, but real. There is no growth without discomfort. The stretching of muscles, the breaking of old patterns, the shedding of ego, all of it hurts. But in that friction, strength is forged. When you choose to learn from pain instead of escape it, it becomes the forge of your transformation. It burns away illusion and leaves only what is essential. Many of the deepest insights in life come wrapped in sorrow. Loss teaches us the value of presence. Betrayal reveals the necessity of self-trust. Loneliness uncovers the parts of ourselves we have neglected. Each wound holds a lesson, but only if we stop blaming and start listening. Only if we turn toward the pain and ask what it is trying to show us. In the quiet aftermath of suffering, clarity often appears. The mind may still be uncertain, but the heart knows. You understand what you must release. You recognize who you must become. These realizations do not come through pleasure, but through the sharpening edge of challenge. Pain opens doors that comfort never would. To suffer consciously is to evolve. Not by romanticizing pain, but by respecting it. Not by seeking it, but by welcoming its wisdom when it arrives. Pain breaks the surface of the life you knew and reveals the deeper currents beneath. It humbles, refines, and ultimately deepens your capacity to feel, to understand, to connect. There are things within you that can only awaken through hardship. Qualities like resilience, compassion, and inner stillness are not taught in books. They are carved into your being by experience, shaped by the very difficulties you once wished away. Simplicity carries depth. What is truly essential does not need to be adorned or exaggerated. A single breath taken with awareness reveals more than hours of scattered thoughts. A simple act done with full presence outweighs many grand intentions. Simplicity is not the absence of richness, it is the essence of it. Complexity often comes from confusion, from the mind trying to prove, justify, or secure its place. But the deeper one travels inward, the clearer things become. Complexity fades not because life becomes easier, but because clarity removes the unnecessary. When the dust of overthinking settles, the path is not more detailed, it is more direct. Simplicity is not primitive, it is precise. Like a master who makes a single movement that contains decades of discipline, or a poem that uses few words to capture the vastness of a human experience. The power lies not in quantity, but in presence. Simplicity distills the essence and leaves no room for noise. To live simply is not to live small. It is to live fully without distraction. It is to choose what matters and let go of what does not. The modern world offers endless options, but true freedom comes not from having everything, but from needing less. Simplicity is a form of clarity, both external and internal. When the mind is still, even the smallest sensation becomes profound. The sound of wind, the weight of your footsteps, the pause between two thoughts, each moment becomes vast. This is not because the moment has changed, but because you have. Simplicity deepens your perception, allowing you to touch the fullness of what already is. In speech, simplicity communicates truth. Words that are spoken with care, without excess, carry more weight than long monologues. In action, simplicity reveals intention. There is no pretending in simplicity. What you do is what you mean, what you offer is what you are. It becomes a mirror for sincerity. Nature speaks through simplicity. The tree does not explain its purpose. The river does not seek praise. Yet both embody wisdom, resilience, and flow. They do not strive, and yet they evolve. The more we observe nature, the more we understand that simplicity is not lack. It is harmony. To simplify is to return. To return to what is real, what is felt, what is alive. It requires the courage to let go of complications we have grown used to, and the humility to recognize that the deepest truths often need no explanation. The outer world mirrors the inner state. What we perceive outside is often a reflection of what is happening within. When the mind is agitated, even a calm environment feels restless. When the heart is heavy, even a sunny day appears dim. The world does not shape our view, it reveals it. We do not see things as they are. We see them as we are. If one carries anger, that energy is projected onto others. The slightest inconvenience becomes an insult, and the smallest delay feels like a personal offense. But this anger is not born in the moment. It has been waiting, unsettled within. The world becomes a trigger not because it is hostile, but because it touches what is unresolved inside. Likewise, when one is at peace, the world softens. The noise becomes background. The chaos becomes manageable. The same situations that disturbed before now pass through like wind through open branches. Inner balance alters how reality is interpreted. What once felt overwhelming now becomes simply a part of the dance of life. The judgments we cast on others often reflect the judgments we have not addressed in ourselves. The qualities we resent in others, arrogance, insecurity, control, are sometimes the very shadows we have not acknowledged within. The outer world gives us clues, not to correct others, but to understand ourselves more deeply. If we feel a constant lack, no amount of external success can fill it. The achievements will feel empty, the relationships strained, and the goals unreachable. The issue is not what we have, but how we hold it. A restless inner world turns abundance into anxiety and opportunity into burden. The mirror never lies, it only reflects. Peace cannot be found by rearranging the world to our liking. The moment we attempt to control everything outside, we begin to lose control inside. But when we tend to the inner space, our thoughts, emotions, intentions, the outer world gradually comes into harmony. The change begins inward, long before it is visible outward. The way we speak to others echoes how we speak to ourselves. Harshness within leads to criticism without. Compassion within leads to gentleness without. The tones we use, the expressions we choose, the patience we extend, they all originate from our inner environment. The mirror does not shape us, it simply shows us. Even the path we walk is chosen from within. If the inner world is unclear, we may wander aimlessly, chasing pleasures or avoiding discomfort. But when clarity settles inside, the road becomes evident. The world presents signs, people, and challenges that align with the frequency we emit from within ourselves. Time is not to be managed, but to be honored. It is not a commodity to be controlled, stretched, or squeezed into blocks and charts. Time is not something we own. It is something we are given moment by moment, breath by breath. When we try to dominate it, we create tension. When we bow to it, we find harmony. In attempting to manage time, many lose touch with life itself. Hours become tasks, days become deadlines, and years disappear in the chase for efficiency. But time does not belong to us. It moves with or without our plans. To honor time is to be present with it, to recognize its sacred nature, and to treat each moment as irreplaceable. A life lived in constant urgency may appear full, but often it is empty of meaning. Multitasking, rushing, striving, they fill calendars, but they leave the soul restless. Honoring time means slowing down enough to notice, to feel the texture of the present, to hear the silence between words, to meet life as it is instead of running past it. There is a rhythm to life that does not follow the clock. Flowers bloom without hurrying, rivers flow without planning. When we align ourselves with this natural rhythm, we realize that productivity does not equal purpose. Some of the most transformative moments occur in stillness, in pauses, in reflection, in quiet connection with the now. We are taught to measure time by what we accomplish, but time can also be marked by how deeply we experience it. A single moment of genuine presence can feel more eternal than an entire day spent in distraction. Honoring time is not about how much we do, but how consciously we move through what we choose to do. There is wisdom in recognizing the impermanence of all things. Every meeting, every sunrise, every breath will never repeat in the same form. Honoring time is also honoring impermanence. It means we see the sacred in the fleeting, and in doing so, we live with more reverence, more care, and more gratitude. When we no longer fight against time, we become more generous with it. We listen without looking at the clock. We rest without guilt. We create without rush. This generosity allows time to expand, not in quantity, but in quality. It becomes less about how long we live and more about how fully we inhabit our moments. To honor time is to treat it as a teacher, not a tool. It teaches us patience when we want speed. It teaches us humility when we feel in control. It teaches us surrender when we cling too tightly to plans